Well, the hospitality industry has also taken a very big knock. To discuss how restaurants are coping with the lockdown, planning maybe to start up again. We're joined by the CEO of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, Wendy Alberts, on the line. Wendy, thank you very much for being with us. We've heard about 43,000 domestic workers who have been fired, they say unfairly. What about waiters? What about bar people? What about restaurant managers and even owners? Do we know what the impact has been thus far?
I estimate that the unemployment that we are currently faced with in the restaurant industry is probably 10 times what the number is that you've spoken about. We are really in drastic times with the restaurant industry. We've made several appeals to both government and private sector to assist us, and we've had very little relief. So we've gathered some statistics from the industry, and based on those statistics, it shows that very few of our restaurants have been able to access any of the funds or even be able to get UIF payments out to our staff. So we're in critical stages now. We are appealing to social services also to help us with feeding schemes for the restaurant staff. It's been their 2 to 3 week turn now where they haven't had a salary, and they are desperate for money to be able to pay for electricity and food on their families' tables.
Sure. So just talking about the numbers, you're saying there's hundreds of thousands here.
Hundreds of thousands of people that we need to support. We were already facing very difficult times. I think we were one of the hardest hit industries prior to lockdown. And as you well know, the margins in the restaurant industry are notoriously small. They're tiny, actually. And when we look at all the components that go into a restaurant, you realize how fragile the financial system is to make any profit within one of our businesses. And we've had no relief on any one of those elements, not from the landlords, not from the banks, not from the government funds, not from UIF. And it's really drastic times for us. You know, we're currently in negotiation with a couple of attorneys who are helping us. And they are saying to us that their force majeure is a clause and a common clause in contracts that will free both parties from the liability of obligation. So we are taking this through to the Shopping Central Council of South Africa, and we're taking this through to SAPOA, and we are looking for full relief of the leases, and we're appealing to government to assist us in getting some form of full relief. The insurance companies haven't come to the party. They also have changed the clauses and the policies. They're not allowing our restaurants to claim for business interruption, and the financial model is just being further set back and having greater debt, and the overheads are just getting restaurants deeper and deeper into the backyard, and there's no capacity to match moving forward in opening in able to put a profitable matrix together.
Yeah. Why is there no relief? I mean, government has announced so many measures for small businesses. The UIF extension, can't waiters access that? And why are no landlords saying we can give you a bit of a break on your rentals for a month?
So in terms of the staff, we obviously understand, and we are compassionate to the fact that the UIF department has been overwhelmed with a number of applications. There's been technical issues and administration issues in getting that done. There was a changeover from a manual system through to an online system. So there's been complications, and the time anticipated, I think, was overwhelming for everybody and possibly wasn't communicated effectively. So we definitely are working with government to ensure that they can expedite some form of payment in order to get that back onto staff. And that is a crucial element in terms of alleviating some of the pressure on business owners, because they feel very responsible. You know, a restaurant is an extension of the neighborhood family, and the staff that work in our restaurants are an extension of that restaurateurs' family. So they are feeling very, very vulnerable. They're feeling very overwhelmed that their staff don't have food and that they're not in a position to be able to pay their staff. And that takes us with the staff and the TERS applications and the UIF applications. We're also trying to raise some funds as private sector to be able to put food vouchers out through one of the premier retail brands to be able to feed those staff that are really, really in dire straits. As so far as the landlords go, there was a special gazette which included restaurants to apply for relief from landlords. The landlords announced that there was a relief plan, a blanket approach to all retailers, and it was a guideline. It's not gazetted, and it was for restaurants to approach those landlords. And the part I think that is very concerning for me is that restaurants are very much a part of the critical components of any shopping centre. We are really also anchor tenants. So whilst there's preferential and in almost sometimes very minimal rentals paid by big supermarkets, we have been overloaded with really, really large leases. And for us to even try and break even with some of the large lease amounts, we're talking some typical small little restaurants being from 40,000 right up to rentals being in excess of 700,000. So
Wendy, I'm going to cut you because very quickly you were hoping that there'd be a second phase of the lockdown. That was reported where maybe restaurants could open just for takeaways, but new regulations announced today. So have those hopes been dashed?
We engaged with stakeholders within our restaurant base and we ran the figures. And we can't afford to try and springboard ourselves back into an opening and then to be shut down. There just isn't the financial resources for us to be able to open. The cost to reopen a restaurant is enormous. There's working capital, there's opening stock, we need to engage with the supply chain, we need to adjust menus. We also need to work with the consumer and understand what the consumer response and behaviour is. Then we've got bigger challenges because if we're only allowed to do deliveries and the margins are so thin with us and we still have these enormous expenses because there's been nothing that's been taken away or any grants that's been given to us, it means that a typical third-party delivery service is taking 27% plus VAT. And then the online ordering system is taking between 10 and 15% plus VAT. So where is any opportunity for the restaurant to even stay afloat? If there's no relief on their rent, if there's no relief on funds, if our staff are going to get reduced wages because of the reduced hours, is it really in their interest to come back to work? There are so many mitigating factors that we're looking at to stabilize the industry, and we can't expose our industry and put our restaurants at a further critical space until we start getting relief and we start getting the funds, we start getting benefit from the funds that have been there, and also that the loans are interest-free. We can't afford to take these massive loans, and the interest rates on these loans are exorbitant. We'll never be able to pay it off, not now or in the next 5 years. Our business model is too sensitive.
All right, so desperate for some form of relief, surely a desperate situation. That was Wendy Alberts, the CEO of the Restaurant Association South Africa.